Starting a podcast used to mean grabbing a mic and hitting record, but things have changed. And if you want people to actually find your show, it needs to be on video. The good news is you don't need a studio team or a Hollywood budget. You can do it yourself. So get ready. We're walking you through the whole process. Building your studio, recording, editing, and distributing your show. We'll show you the exact gear you need, whether you're going solo, inviting guests remotely, or sitting down in the same room. These are the exact setups we use at PSS when we design studios and workflows for clients and new podcast creators. And stay with me because I will also show you the 2 must-have smart tools you need because they make the whole process of making a podcast so efficient. You'll have people wondering if you have a production team working for you. If this feels overwhelming, that's normal. Everyone starts here, staring at an empty room, wondering if this could actually become something. So let's start with the most common setup, because chances are you already have a room or a dedicated space with a desk and a computer. Add a few more pieces and you are ready to record. I call this my always ready solo studio. The goal of this space is simple. Remove the friction between having an idea and hitting record. Everything stays connected, so you are not wasting time setting up and tearing down every session, losing energy and inspiration in the process. And the best part, you can use this same setup for Zoom meetings, workshops, trainings. People will comment on how professional and confident you look on your podcast and in your work calls. And for this demonstration, I completely cleared out my office so you can see how I built this space piece by piece. Also because I upgraded to a standing desk and I needed an excuse to finally put that base together, which was a project in itself. Oh, and before I forget, if you want the links to all the gear, tools, and gadgets I'll mention in this video, comment I am ready and I'll share them with you. So let's start with the desk. Everything in the setup attaches directly to it. Once you set it up, nothing needs to move. Whether you're working or recording, the setup stays exactly where it is. This is the Uplift V2 standing desk with a birch butcher block top, 72 by 30 inches. Plenty of room for everything and it looks great on camera. I can raise this bad boy, lower it, wheel it around, everything moves with it, and it's all connected with one plug. It also came with this little hammock underneath, which my 7-year-old has claimed as her office. And I added a walking pad for the days I'm not recording and I need to get my steps in while I work. But the main reason I went with this desk, I can clamp all my gear directly to it, lights, mic arm, everything. So when the desk moves, my whole studio moves with it. The camera I'm using is the Sony ZV-E10 with the 60mm lens. Here's what I love about this combo. It gives you that cinematic professional look that people associate with high-end Sony gear. We're talking beautiful depth, creamy background blur, the whole thing. I also wanted a light right by the camera, so I needed a way to clamp the camera and the light together. I found this dual clamp system from Newer with 2 extension arms, so I can mount the light and the camera side by side. And I didn't get just one light. I got 2 of my current favorites, the Newer round panel BR13s. One sits by the camera and the other on the left side of my desk, so I have light on both sides of my face. For audio, I'm using the Rode USB pod mic mounted on the Elgato low profile wave arm. All the cables are managed and hidden so the space stays clean and distraction free. Now check this out, because this little gadget will blow your mind. The Elgato prompter. This is how you cheat. This is how you make people believe you are an attentive listener with superpowers who can recall details without even glancing at your notes. It sits right in front of your lens, so you can have notes, talking points, or even your guest's face right in front of you while still looking directly into the camera. It makes solo recording and remote interviews feel so much more natural. The reason this setup works so well is simple. Everything stays connected. When you're ready to record, nothing gets moved, nothing gets reset. You sit down, turn on your computer, turn on your lights, turn on your camera, and you are recording. This setup is ideal for solo episodes or remote guests, so let's try it out. To record solo episodes and connect with guests, I use Riverside FM. You choose your camera and mic, join the studio, copy and send the link. Your guests will pop up on the screen when they join, and now you're ready to press record. Hi, Steven.
Hey, Veronica. So Veronica's setup is pretty cool, but what if you want something that's more simple and affordable? I call this setup the budget-friendly creator studio. Let me show it to you. For the camera, I'm using the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite. I really love this camera because it's plug and play and you can actually record in 4K either directly into Riverside or to your computer. And for the microphone, I'm using the Samson Q2U. This bad Larry is incredible for the price. It costs less than a dinner for two, and it punches way above its weight in terms of audio quality. Now for the lights, I'm using two of the BR13s by Neewer, just like Veronica. I love these because they're affordable and they come with the stands. I love this setup because it makes me look and sound great, whether I'm a guest on somebody else's podcast or recording my own. So if you're on a budget and you want to get started without sacrificing quality, this is the way to go. But what if you don't want to record alone? What if you want to do a co-host podcast or have two people recording in the same room? Well, check it out. This is our two-person co-host video podcast setup.
I love this setup because it is accessible and totally doable if you're doing this by yourself. You don't need an on-set assistant or someone to push buttons or run multiple cameras. This is a single camera setup and it looks this good.
The camera we're using is the Sony a7 IV with the G Master 35mm lens. This is top of the line, primo choice for podcasters and YouTube creators who want that cinematic look.
Now, to get this camera into your computer so you can record in 4K on Riverside, you need to convert HDMI to USB. For this, we're using the Elgato CamLink 4K capture card. Plug it in and your camera becomes a webcam, but way better.
And for our lights, we're using a 2-pack of the Neewer 480 LED panel lights. But make sure to get the softbox attachments with these. They soften everything and make the light way more flattering. These lights are super affordable and come with their own stands. We're aiming one at each one of our faces. And then for the fill light and to bring up the background and light up the whole scene, we're using the Neewer bicolor round panel key light. This thing is crazy powerful. But heads up, it doesn't come with a stand and it's very heavy, so you will need to use a heavy-duty light stand for it. We've got it positioned up high between the two of us. I know we're covering a lot of equipment here, but don't worry. Remember, you can comment, "I'm ready," right where you're watching, and we will send you a resource with all of the links to the equipment we're covering.
Now let's talk about audio because all of my favorite podcasters use this microphone. I had to have it, the Shure SM7B. We're using two of them. For the microphone stand, we're using the double-sided boom arm with a floor stand, and we wrap all the XLR cables around the stand so we don't have any dangling cables. I hate dangling cables.
But here's the thing, these are not USB microphones, so you will need to use an audio interface with them. We are using the SSL2 Plus because this really does these mics justice. It gets them nice and juicy and loud, just the way that they should sound.
And what's really cool is Riverside now lets you select different audio inputs from your interface using their Add In-Person Guest feature. That means that each microphone records on its own track and both sync up to this one camera.
So when you're ready to edit in Riverside, now you can take advantage of AI tools like Magic Audio and Smart Mute, which automatically mutes the person who isn't speaking. This opens up your mix and cuts out all of the unwanted noise. And then whenever you're done recording, all you have to do is press stop here in Riverside. And a little menu pops up with a purple button that asks you to go to your project. And when that does, you're taken back to the dashboard. Now, Riverside will default to go back to the Made for You section here, but next to that, we can click on Recordings. And here we'll actually see all of the recordings that we created while we were in our studio. And then from here, we can go ahead and click on Edit. So here we are in the editor, and you're not gonna believe how cool and easy all of this is. First off, you can edit this like you would a Google Doc, which is insane. You could just grab parts of the transcript and delete them, and they will be deleted from your edit. So it's really easy. You also have the timeline view down here where you can see your audio files and edit in that way. Another feature that helps a lot with full-length podcast episodes is you can listen back in double speed. If you hover over the 1x here, you'll notice it says playback speed. When you click there, you can go as high as 2x. This is a major hack that will cut cut your editing time in half right off the bat. But if you don't want to edit at all, really, you can just trim out the beginning and the end and rely on the really cool co-creator and AI tools here in Riverside. You'll see all of your tools along the right-hand side here. Under AI tools, there's some really cool things here. Removing pauses, removing filler words, and finding fluff. The remove filler words has an incredible technology that I love, and it's this right here where you can choose to mute the silences. So this is a really cool hack because it will just mute when you say or but it won't actually cut it from the video, so you don't have a bunch of jarring jump cuts throughout your whole episode. And if you want to keep that organic, kind of natural, unedited feeling with the podcast episode, which many people do, this is an amazing feature for that. Then, of course, we have the magic audio, which with one click applies compression, noise reduction, and EQ to your voice so that they're broadcast ready and sound great. And then along the right-hand side, under AI tools, we have tracks. And here you see we have the Steven microphone and Veronica's microphone. And Riverside will treat these two microphones now separately and mute whoever isn't speaking. Now, recording in the same location into Riverside with two microphones is actually a newer feature. What Riverside became most popular for is remote recording, or when you're connecting with a guest remotely. That's where the technology really shines. Let's take a look at the session Veronica and I had earlier here in the editor in Riverside so you can see the amazing features for this use case. So again, it's really easy just to cut the beginning and end out, like this part here with Veronica.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
We can just grab the wiggle wiggle and delete it, and then it gets deleted from our episode, and you can see that that happened down here on the timeline. You can also fine tune these adjustments on the timeline by dragging those moments that get deleted or hidden, you could say, from your edit. Then you can adjust the orientation or your scenes of how these two side-by-side shots look. I like to balance the two shots, get a similar head size and framing of the side-by-side shot. So by double clicking here, we can just drag Veronica into the middle. It gives us some guides here that are very helpful. When I double click on my shot, the guides show up, and I have this option to zoom in here. So I can zoom in until my head is about the same size as Veronica's, then give myself about the same headroom, and that's looking a lot more balanced as a side-by-side shot. But here's the other really amazing feature. You can switch between cameras and a side-by-side whenever you want now when you're editing. If that wasn't enough, when you click on the AI tools here, we have smart layouts. This is auto camera switching. This is just barely touching the surface of what you could do, but what I really wanted to illustrate here is how easy and accessible all of this is. When it comes time that you want to get more advanced, maybe add some intros and music and effects and text callouts and captions. Yes, Riverside has all of that too. You've got to get in there and explore it. We actually have a promo code with Riverside, PSS, and if you use that at checkout, when you go to pss.media/Riverside, you'll save 15% on your yearly or monthly plan. So I've gone through and made some edits and cleaned up my conversation with Veronica. So now we can hover to the top right corner, click on export. Let's do a 4K export of this conversation. We can normalize the audio levels and remove background noise to get some really clean broadcast-ready audio and say export. A window pops up that says exporting your edit, and you can go to your exports. And here from the exports, it will take some time to process your export. And once your export is done processing, you can click here to download your file. And now your file is ready for distribution.
Distribution is the step that takes your podcast from a folder of recorded files on your computer to an actual show people can find on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. This is the part that most people rush through. They record an episode, upload it quickly, pick a name that they haven't really thought through, and hope for the best. And that's usually why their show ends up buried at the bottom of the feed with 0 plays. Not because their content is bad, but because they didn't plan for distribution before they hit record. Things like choosing a strong, searchable podcast name, clearly defining what the show is about, who it's for, and how it should show up on platforms, all that matters. It does. So for this part, I'm going to use our brand new podcast maker and launch tool, Podcast Your Way. You can use this tool to turn an idea into a real, ready to publish show with everything you actually need to distribute it properly. Check this out. Creating an account is super easy and you can do it for free. Just go to podcastyourway.com and follow the steps. Once you are inside Podcast Your Way, you answer a few strategic questions about you so the platform can help you refine and choose your show concept based on your experience, personality, and goals. This part is super short, and at the end, you'll have a podcast name you'll know nobody else is using, a clear topic, and most importantly, a clear idea of your audience. From there, Podcast Your Way Way creates a full show profile for you, podcast description, cover art, everything you need to set your show up correctly. Now let's open Spotify for Creators. After creating an account, copy and paste the information from Podcast Your Way and upload the cover art. And that's it. Your show is now set up and ready on Spotify. The next step is recording a show trailer. And if you have no idea what a trailer is or how to write one, well, inside Podcast Your Way, you'll find a podcast trailer builder. In here, you'll be guided through the steps of writing a professional podcast trailer, even if you've never written one before, with all the important parts, transition, tone, and style that make a great trailer. With your script in hand, you just have to jump back into Riverside and press record. You already saw how fast editing is. So once that is done, upload the trailer straight into Spotify for Creators. Now the show is live. From here, Spotify makes it easy to distribute your podcast to Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and all the other podcast players for free. That same video file from Riverside, you can upload it to YouTube. So you will have a podcast trailer on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. That's how a podcast goes from an idea to a real show people can actually find.
Pretty cool, right? Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can record and produce a video podcast. We've just covered 3 of them so far. So I created a playlist for you right here where we go more in depth of the different methods that you can use, like live streaming or doing it on the go. And we also put some videos in there that unpack more details about cameras, microphones, and lighting for video podcasts. Enjoy.